We're sifting through the ashes to bring you 7 things you missed in the Spoils of War's dragon battle. All right, so let's blow the horn of spoiler warning right now. Good. Last night, Jaime Lannister sent his troops into battle with a fire-breathing dragon, but lost after making the small strategic error of sending his troops into battle with a fire-breathing dragon. But despite being a pretty one-sided fight, there was still plenty of spectacle to be had, starting with a visit from the Dothraki Wild Westerosi stunt rodeo and ending with Jaime sinking like a stone to the bottom of an inexplicably deep river. But in between all that were some pretty cool details you may have missed on first viewing. First up, could this be the untimely end of Jaime Lannister? The final shot of the episode was Jaime seemingly heading for his watery grave, proving once and for all that your mother was right. Never go swimming with a full stomach or a solid gold hand. But don't worry, we're pretty sure he'll find his way to the surface. That shot actually mirrored 2 previous shots from the show, Tyrion being dragged underwater by the Stone Men in Season 5, and Bran getting knocked out of the tower window in Season 1. And we think, as with Tyrion and Bran in both of those cases, Jaime will ultimately be okay, or at least still alive. But the parallel to Bran's fall is pretty interesting, especially considering Jaime was the one responsible for it. Now, Jaime has really evolved over the course of the series from a stark, crippling jerk to a dude who actually kind of cares about other people, even sparing straggling soldiers from an immediate flogging. And watching him endure a fate similar to that of his most infamous victim feels like a significant stop in that journey. So when he finally gets to shore, will he be even more of a changed man? Could he finally reunite with Tyrion and realize he needs to free himself from Cersei's maniacal control, or did watching his men getting cooked alive make him even more sure that any Targaryen on the throne will eventually go mad with power? It's hard to say, but either way, we bet he's doing a lot of thinking on the way to the bottom of that river. And speaking of going all the way back to the beginning, score 1 for Robert Baratheon. Now, we may have gotten to know him as the whoremonger king, but before he was drinking wine and hunting pigs, Robert was known as a very wise and effective strategist. In a conversation with Cersei in Season 1, Robert says,
"Only a fool would meet the Dothraki in an open field."
But wouldn't you know, that's exactly what Jaime was forced into. But the Lannister army did have at least one MVP on their side. Good old Bronn. Sure, the guy can sound a little bit like a disgruntled Nathan Fillion fan, constantly complaining about no castle, but he came through in the clutch last night and proved that he has seriously leveled up his archery skills. Remember back in Season 2 when, in the Battle of Blackwater Bay, he ignited a wildfire with a single flaming arrow? Well, this time we kind of get the inverse of that. He takes down the fire-breathing dragon with a single non-flaming arrow, and to be fair, this one took him 2 tries, but when you're aiming something as huge as a scorpion, nailing your second shot is pretty darn impressive, especially since you had to load the thing again yourself. And speaking of archery, now that the weapon has been proven effective in wounding one of Dany's fire beasts, we're thinking Qyburn and Cersei will be ready to take things up a notch by building a bunch more of the metal arrow-slinging scorpions, and we wouldn't put it past them to add poison to the giant metal arrow tips for extra dragon-killing effect. Because as Qyburn says, if they can be wounded, they can be killed, and by the old gods and the new, we know Cersei will find a way to kill them dragons. But before the dragons get taken out completely, we probably will see them do more damage to help Mama Dany get a leg up in this war. Since Dany has decided to take the late great Olenna's advice and is diverging from Tyrion's clever plans, she's starting to do all the things her crazy dad did that earned him the title of the Mad King. In fact, it also reminds us of her most famous ancestor, Aegon the Conqueror. Now, looking to the books again, this whole scene is reminiscent of the definitive Field of Fire battle in which Aegon and his 2 sisters rode their dragons into a major win for the Targaryen side, even though they were outnumbered, roasting over 4,000 Lannisters and Gardeners in an open field. And what better way to signal a possible descent into fire-wielding madness than with a big ol' record-breaking barbecue? That's right, the Loot Train battle could very well be the epic fire scene that we heard about months ago, where more than 20 stunt actors were set on fire at the same time, surpassing Saving Private Ryan and Braveheart for numbers of simultaneous burns. And one of those Lannister men to get toasted was none other than New York Mets pitcher Noah Syndergaard, who was perfectly cast as someone throwing a spear. Way to work on those special skills. Now we can also hope that Ed Sheeran was one of the Lannister casualties. Burn. I thought he was fine, but whatever. And finally, we noticed that while this battle may have been a big victory for Team Dany and leveled the playing field following her major losses, it also could have been a bad tactical move for long-term survival. Randall Tarley told Jaime that all of the gold was already safe in King's Landing, so what was Drogon burning in all of those wagons? Food and supplies taken from Highgarden. In roasting up the Lannisters' supplies, Dany has also potentially decimated the food supply for the long winter, which could end up screwing all of the humans left to fight against the White Walker army. Now, this doesn't bode well for Dany and Jon's allegiance either, since Jon has been pushing towards uniting all of Westeros against the Night King's forces instead of, roasting each other to death. But did we miss anything from the Battle of Tumbleton? Do you think Drogon will heal up quickly and get Dany the hell out of Westeros? And will Jaime Lannister live and get to see Tyrion again? Let's discuss. And if you haven't gotten enough Game of Thrones, be sure to check out our live after show, All Kings Considered. We break down the latest episode, dissect the theories, and predict what's next for the Seven Kingdoms. You can catch it every Monday at 1 p.m. PST on YouTube or ProjectAlpha.com.